every pious Hindu wants to do the Char Dham Yatra of Uttarakhand. After all, we all want to get rid of our earthly sins before we enter the heavens. But what about the sin of destroying the Dev Bhumi for the fulfillment of our wishes? Will we also carry a bit of the burden of the sin of the destruction of the holy land of Uttarakhand by blind road widening in the name of development and defense of our borders? More importantly, are we ready to share the blame for putting lives in danger of the 40 laborers stuck inside the Uttarkashi tunnel? I am referring to the almost 900 kilometers of road work under Char Dham highway project. As is widely known, Char Dham project was started in 2016 as a tribute to those who lost their lives during flash floods in Uttarakhand in 2013. Another tragedy which had its inception rooted in human activity destroying the delicate eco-balance of the hills. So basically, to remember the victims of an ecological disaster, we laid foundation for future potential disasters. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that widening of the hill roads should be under a blanket ban. No, not at all. What I'm saying is that it should be done viewing the preservation of environment and hill ecology as priority, not as an obstacle to be removed. The attitude of the central government, state government, and all the authorities, and even constitutional institutions associated with this issue, has been to how to solve this save the environment problem that is stopping us from zooming down our wide, beautiful roads. Well, it doesn't work that way. The mountains we are trying to dig through are young, unsettled Himalayas. They are weak, have loose debris, and we are scooping out trees with roots, blasting rocks, removing topsoil, and creating slopes that are unstable. Let's first come back to the current issue, the tunnel in Uttarkashi. The 4,500 meter long tunnel is being built by National Highways and Infrastructure Development Corporation Limited, NHIDCL, in partnership with Navyug Engineering Company Limited at a cost of almost 8,054 crore rupees. It is part of the Char Dham all-weather road project that aims to reduce the journey between Uttarkashi and Yamunotri town by 26 kilometers. A portion of this tunnel collapsed at Silkyara around 5:30 in the morning on the day the whole country was celebrating Diwali. Since then, it has been a struggle every day, with men from different states buried under the burden of ambitions of Char Dham project. But how can such a big planned project with crores invested in it go wrong? After all, India's environmental laws take care of the fact that such huge and ambitious projects pass through a solid environmental scrutiny. Well, the answer is that this project did not. India's environmental law, the Environment Impact Assessment Notification 2006, requires that the expansion of all highway projects of a length of 100 kilometers and above and construction of projects over 20,000 square meters be undertaken after an Environment Impact Assessment or EIA. This involves the study of the flora and the fauna and the likely impact of the project, followed by public consultation and finally a decision by the government as to whether the project should be allowed or not. Though the project involves the expansion of 900 kilometers of road, it did not undergo an EIA process since the project was conveniently split into 53 segments of less than 100 kilometers to avoid undertaking an EIA. So the idea was, let's put in 12,000 crores into a 900 kilometer project impacting millions of lives and our most unstable mountains, but without any study. After all, nothing should stop the development, not even the risk to life and the very future of the hills. Environmentalist Ravi Chopra, who resigned as chairman of the Supreme Court appointed High Power Committee or the HPC overseeing the Char Dham project, calls it an ill-conceived project. We spoke to him.
The Char Dham Pariyojana was not a carefully conceived project. Avoiding the environmental impact assessment was disastrous. The high-powered committee, in its field studies, noted that the kind of geological investigations required were not done. Even available information was not carefully studied. The committee visited several projects of the National Highway Infrastructure Development Corporation Limited and found that their work was quite shoddy. Hence, I am not too surprised at the news of the disaster at the Silkyara tunnel. I hope that the laborers inside the tunnel are rescued at the earliest.
While the project was underway, the Ministry of Defence realized they needed even wider roads to keep our borders safe. The Ministry of Defence, or the MOD, and the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways now needed a 10-meter wide road high up in the hills, citing national security, and this was done after agreeing to a 7-meter width road earlier. The Supreme Court also ruled in favor of these wide 10 meters roads. It's not like any of these incidents make any difference to what we are doing to our hills in long term. Take, for example, the sinking of Joshimath, the town that is built on slopes that have deposits from an old landslide. While the deposits may have stabilized over time, rampant construction, especially of projects like roads and dams that use explosives, drilling and extensive digging, have weakened the slopes. The construction of buildings in the town too has added to the problem, but we have all conveniently forgotten about it and moved on. A report of 1976, which is the oldest report exploring the land subsidence on Joshimath, warned against excavating the slopes and removing boulders by digging or even using explosives. But that didn't stop the construction of NTPC's 520 megawatt Tapovan Vishnugad hydro power project. In fact, after the sinking episode we saw early this year, the reports of 8 institutions were submitted to the government. But they were made public only after the Uttarakhand High Court questioned the state for hiding them. So not only do we ignore warnings, we actively try to hide evidence of our callousness.
It's perhaps time to once again look at the need to curb, to course correct and comply, ensure compliance with the law of the land. So first of all, when it comes to curbing this tendency to really curb this recklessness as far as construction is concerned, this unabated, push with concretization. The second to go along with that is to seriously reflect on the kind of development trajectory that Uttarakhand should pursue, considering its sustainability and climate crisis challenges. And when it comes to compliance, which is really a very, very weak link, because everything looks great and thorough on paper and on DPRs, but flagrant violations and abysmally pathetic ways in which projects are getting constructed once again across the length and breadth of Uttarakhand. I think it's very, very important that the central government in Delhi, the state government here in Dehradun, and their various agencies, really huddle together and really reflect, because one after the other, we are seeing so many tragic incidents. Why go far? Even Himachal Pradesh in this monsoon of 2023, Uttarakhand, and then Sikkim. So all these should be wake-up calls. Sadly, what we've seen so far is no course correction, no tendency to curb, and of course, compliance has always been weak.
One thing is for sure, there is no end to human need, or rather greed. Today, we want to take a comfy journey up to our dhams and want to take tanks up to our borders very conveniently. Tomorrow, we will want more. How long will our Dev Bhumi Uttarakhand suffer the burden of our faith? Wasn't the whole point of going for such arduous journeys was to go through suffering and thus cleanse your sins? Now it seems we are just adding on the sins. Do tell us what you think about this video in the comment section, and for more news updates, subscribe to India Today.